or at least for you to see me. We are going to do our first math lesson, and it's going to be on using set models. You can see I've got that written here. So your first math activity requires you to do some work with some set models. And what we're going to do is I'm going to show you what a set model is and how to use them, and then you'll be able to take the knowledge that I give you and apply that to the activity that I have provided for you. So first of all, a set model is basically when you're using a set of items to represent a fraction. So for example, if I had the fraction 4/5, okay, that means that I would have 5 items total, and I would be showing you 4 of them in some way. So I could do 5 x's, and then maybe I circle 4 of them to show you that there are 4 out of 5 x's. So again, a set model is when you're just using a set of items. In this case, it happens to be x's. I've brought along some different materials that I'm going to use throughout the lesson. I have gummy lifesavers, that's a set of items. I have Play-Doh that I'm going to use, and then down here I have spread out some of my girls' hair bows, and we're going to use those for the lesson too. So again, a set model is when you're using a set of items to represent fractions. And we actually did some of this at small groups when we were still in the school, and some of you saw them as like this. So we would have had, say, 2 blue circles and 2 red circles and 3 blue circles, and maybe we could say that 3/5 are blue because 3 out of the 5 circles are blue, and then 2/5 are red. Okay, so that was something that we actually did with our practice cards that we were working on in small groups, and we were using the little circles that came with that activity, and I had you guys to make certain fractions for me and then tell me what the names were, and then I also kind of moved them around and had you answer some other questions. So just for example, if I were to ask someone to make a set model of a particular fraction, and let's say that I gave them the fraction 3/10, okay, 3/10. So here's what I'm going to try to do. 3, 5, 6, 7, 8. Oh, good. That worked out perfect. Okay, so then this could be 3 out of 10. Okay, and we'll try to, maybe they'll stick to the plate and won't fall out for me. But so I have 3 pinkish, reddish Lifesaver gummies, and I have 7 green ones. So 7 plus the 3 makes 10 total. Well, 3 out of 10 of the Lifesavers are red. Okay. So again, this is a set model. It's going to look similar to an array sometimes, but it's not always going to be set up in rows or columns either. Sometimes it's just going to be a straight line like I've done up here on this board. So that's one example. Again, 3/10 are red, and then I could say that 7/10 are green. Okay, so that's one way you can see a set model. Now, I could even use the same color. They don't have to be different colors. Kind of like up here again, I used all of the same item or the same set of things, but they were all the same color. So here, I kept all of the green ones, but I have 2 over here and 3 on this side. So this would be 2/5, 2 out of 5. And then this one over here, this side would be 3/5, because there's 5 all together, but then however many is in my group or in my set would be the numerator, or that top number for the fraction. Okay? Alright, so that's using the Gummy Lifesavers. Now, I'm going to try to show you, let's see. Alright, so I don't know if you're going to be able to see this or not, but I have some hair bows here. Maybe I can try to use the plate. These are probably going to fall more than the Lifesavers would. But I have, yeah, they are. Oh, that's not working out so well. Okay, so I have 4 orange hair bows and 2 blue ones. Okay, here's the blue ones. And I can make fractions from this set model. They're not in a straight line. They're just in a big old bunch because of them falling off the plate. But anyway, so I have 2/6 are blue and 4/6 are orange. Okay. Now, just like before, I don't have to have different colors. I could separate them like this. I don't know if you can see or not, but I've got 2 at the top and 2 at the bottom. Well, this would be 2 out of 4. This down here would be 2 out of 4. But I'm also going to share a video that's going to teach you that not only do you call it, or can you call it, the fraction that it looks or appears to be, but I could also say that this group up here, if I were to circle the whole thing, this would be 1/2, because there's 2 up here and 2 up here, which means my groups have the same amount in each. Well, not when I throw them all over the floor. But anyway, so each of my groups has the same amount, and so therefore this this would be considered 1/2 of the group. This would also be considered 1/2 of the group, because 1/2 plus 1/2 together makes the whole thing. Okay. Alright, I am going to get out my Play-Doh, and I am going to show you some things with that as well. But I want to give you something to do while you're waiting on me. So if you'll get a piece of notebook paper or just a piece of scratch paper, it doesn't have to be anything. You're not going to turn this into me. But I am just giving you something to practice what you know so far. And I want you to try and either draw, or you can even get your own items. And I want you to make your own set models for the following fractions. Okay? So I want you to make a set model for 2/3. Make a set model for the fraction 1/5. And I want you to make a set model for the fraction, let's do 4/8. Okay. So, yeah, you can see those 3 in the screen. I want you to try to make set models for those 3 while you're waiting on me to get some things together with the Play-Doh, okay? This will be something that if you end up having a question and you're not sure exactly what I'm meaning or how to do this, then you can always send a message on Schoology. You can have your parents send a message on Dojo, or you can send me a request on WebEx, and if I get the notification that you're in the room waiting on me, then I can join you in the room and you could ask me the question face to face, which sometimes might be easier than just trying to send it through a message. But if you had a question and you wanted to include a picture in your question, then you could have your, I'm not sure if you can upload a picture to Schoology to send me in the message or not. I haven't played with that enough to know. But you can have your parents send me a message with a picture on Dojo if you wanted to do that. Okay, so what I'm doing with the Play-Doh is I'm basically just making some small little balls. They're similar to like the circles that you would have seen in our small group, or like the circles that I've drawn up here. And I'm just making some things that I can, once again, represent some fractions with. Set models are fairly easy. We're actually going to be learning about 3 different models of ways to show fractions. but set models happens to be the first of the 3. So, get some of these. I don't know if you can hear Mackenzie singing down. She's downstairs. All 3 girls are downstairs with their daddy, but she's singing a song. Oh, there's Emma. Emma's chiming in. Okay. Alright, so I'm going to stop for now. These are probably going to roll and fall just as bad as the hair bows did. Make sure I made exactly what I wanted there. I did. Okay. So, I have pink and purple, and I made some pink circles and I made some purple circles. I actually made 6 of each color. So I'm going to be using these to show you set model. Again, they're not always going to look like an array, but sometimes they might. So set models, that is. So I'm going to take a few of these away for right now so that it shows you only part of what I've made. And right now, that would mean that I have 6 pink circles and 3 purple circles. So I can name 2 fractions from this particular set model. And I would, if I was to name the purple ones, then I would say 3/9, because there's 3 purple ones. But if I were to count the whole group, it would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So 3 out of 9, or 3/9, is purple. But then if I wanted to name the fraction for pink, I could do that as well. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pink. So 6 out of 9, or 6/9, would be pink. Okay. So I'm actually going to use these now that you've had time to work on these yourself, and I'm going to try to represent these with the circles that I've created to kind of help you check your answers. So I have 2/3 as our first fraction that's up here, and there's obviously lots of ways that you could represent this, but here is one way that you could correctly represent this. So I have 3 circles, I have 1 pink, and 2 purple. If I wanted to represent the fraction 2/3, then I would say 2/3 of my circles are purple. Okay, so I'm actually going to put that up here. I'm going to draw 2 purple ones, and then a pink one. Okay. Alright, so now I'm going to represent the fraction 1/5, and I'm going to add 3 purple ones. Okay, I'll do this because I need to talk about what a lot of you guys actually were trying to do when we were doing our small group. If you're looking on my plate, okay, you should be able to see that I actually have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 circles all together. Well, in our small group, and if the fraction was 1/5, some of you were wanting to say, well, there's 1, and then there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so it's 1/5. Well, that is a misconception, because you're supposed to have 5 total. So whatever that new denominator is, that's how many you should have all together. So I'm going to double check and make sure I'm correct now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I am. So I have 5 all together, but 1 out of those 5 is pink. So 1/5 of my circles are pink. So if I wanted to represent that, then I could draw my circles. I'm going to show you that not always will your sets be in circles. Okay, So in this case, I drew hearts, and 1/5 is pink. Okay. Then I have the fraction 4/8. So in order to represent that, that means I need how many circles total? Can you guess? How many circles total would I have on my plate? Think about it. Remember, it's the denominator that tells us how many in the set should be all together. So our denominator is 8. That means we should have 8. I hope your answer was 8. And if not, that's okay. That means you're still learning. So I'm going to count and make sure that all together I have exactly 8. And that would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I do have 8 altogether, which means I can continue with my answer here. So I wanted to represent 4/8, and I've actually done that with both colors. The one really cool thing when you have the numerator being exactly half of the denominator is that both of your groups are equal, and therefore you can represent that particular fraction twice. So I could say 4 out of 8 or 4/8 are purple, and I could say that 4 out of 8 or 4/8 are pink. Isn't that pretty cool? And I could also use the fraction 1/2. 1/2 of my circles are purple, 1/2 of my circles are pink, because in this particular instance my groups have the exact same amount. Okay, so I'm going to represent those up here, and this time I'm going to be fun and do smiley faces. So I have 4 pink smiley faces, and 4 purple smiley faces. Okay. So basically that kind of concludes my lesson on set models. Again, set models are basically when you have a set of items that you are using to represent fractions. Sometimes you're going to see those using different colors. Sometimes it's not going to be different colors. It's all going to be the same object, and you just have them separated, or you could circle a particular amount of the objects that you have. Okay. Set models are pretty easy. So on the worksheet that I have provided for you, I think there's 3 or 4 fractions, and you are basically going to draw a set model to represent each of those fractions, just like I did here. And then I want you to take that and you're going to write an equation using unit fractions. Okay? That is reviewing something that we have done before. So I'm actually going to show you how to do that. Okay? So I'm going to randomly choose the fraction 3/8. Okay, and if I were to draw a set model for this, I don't have to have any objects. As long as I have a pencil or a marker or a pen, I'm good to go, and I can draw that set model. Okay, so my set model, maybe I want to let's do stars this time, or I'm going to do what we would call asterisks. Okay, so I'm going to draw 8 of them. Okay, so now I have my number of items matching my denominator. My denominator is 8, and I have 2, 4, 6, 8 items. Now I'm going to model or represent the fraction 3/8 by circling 3 of them. Okay, I have drawn and created a set model for 3/8. Guys, it's really that simple. Now, the second part of what I've asked you to do is to write the equation or write an equation of the fraction using unit fractions. Remember that a unit fraction is simply a fraction that has a specific number as the numerator. Can you remember what that number is? A unit fraction is a fraction with the numerator 1. Has to be a 1. Okay? So if I wanted to write 3/8 as an equation using unit fractions, then I would do this. 3/8 equals, and then I would use my numerator of 1. My denominator stays the same. I'm going to put a plus sign because 1/8 does not equal 3/8. I have to keep going. So again, I'm going to use another unit fraction with the numerator 1. My denominator is going to stay the same. Now 1/8 plus 1/8 makes 2/8. 2/8 is not equal to 3/8, so I have to keep going. That means another plus sign. And then I'm going to use my numerator of 1. My denominator is going to stay the same. And now I have 1/8 plus 1/8 plus 1/8, which means 1, 2, 3, 3/8. 3/8 is equal to 1/8 plus 1/8 plus 1/8. And now I'm done. Okay? So on your worksheet, you're going to draw your objects and represent the fraction that I've given you using the objects that you've drawn. And then in the second box, I've asked you to simply write the equation, the fraction and an equation using unit fractions. Okay, so it's fairly simple. I want you to give it a try. If you have any questions, then of course you can reach out to me and I'll be glad to answer those. But otherwise, happy learning. Thank you for joining.